Hi, this is Deborah Sexton.
Dave Garrick with Atlas Green Supply.
Lon Winters with Graphic Elephants.
You are listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted
by Terry Combs and Aaron Montgomery.
All right, well, welcome into the show today, everybody. It is Friday the 13th. Now, I was actually born on a Friday the 13th. I think that's going to explain a lot of things for folks, but so it's Happy Non-Triskaidekaphobia Day for any of you that know that. So my name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at aaronmontgomery.info. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, as you can see here in the video side here, Jimmy Lamb, who's going to fill in for Terry and co-host for us today. And Terry's out on the road, but Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Aaron. Great to be here as always. And you're right, that birthday just explained a lot of things. So, well, the next question, you were born on the 13th. Was it a Friday?
It was actually. It was a Friday the 13th. Wow. So every Friday the 13th, I get a text from my dad, Happy Non-Triskaidekaphobia Day. So yes, the explanation for a lot of things.
This is the best day of the world for you. Pretty
much, yeah. I'm on cloud nine right now. So
yeah, no bad luck. No bad luck. It's all a good day here.
Absolutely. And I've got you joining me, and we're going to talk about sublimation, and which is always one of my favorite subjects, and and we'll probably talk about other fun things too, knowing us. But
well, of course, always.
Well, Jimmy, before we get into that, I do want to just cover a couple of quick news items. I came across a report on the state of sublimation and some forecasting information, actually based out of Europe. So, but they did have some worldwide data on it too. And it says dye sublimation printers will continue to present exciting new business opportunities for ink suppliers, equipment builders, and print service providers in the textile segment across the next 5 years, according to the latest report from Smithers Priya. And I'll put a link to that in our show notes, but I'm just reading what it says here. Exclusive research from the Future of Dye Sublimation Printing to 2023 tracks how the market worldwide will rise from a value of 6.99 billion euros in 2017 to 7.63 billion euros in 2018. So they do a bunch of math, and basically they come to the conclusion that a 10% increase for the 5-year period up to 2023 will take the market to 12.4 billion euros, which calculates out to 15.25 billion US dollars. So I thought very fitting that we're going to talk sublimation today. And it sounds like, in fact, I'm going to ping you about apparel sublimation and fabric. So this is timely, I think.
It is. And I really like that number, 15.25 billion USD. Maybe we should just talk about that,
Yeah, right? How do we get, I don't need that much of that. I just want a little tiny percentage.
I'll take 1%.
1%? All right. Well, I'll take 1%. So there's still 98% left for everybody else.
No big deal. But I just want to comment on that real quick. That's one of the things we've seen at Sawgrass. The European marketplace has definitely shown a lot of growth going there, as well as really the domestic as well. I mean, we're seeing a big rise in sublimation. The wonderful thing about that is when you have more sublimation systems out there, you tend to have the people that carry the substrates will continue to expand the number of substrates available for sublimation. I mean, we're counting already because we put a lot of templates on our Creative Studio program, and being over about 1,200 different products in there already, which means 1,200 ready to go off-the-shelf products for sublimation. And that continues to grow. It wasn't too many years ago we talked about mouse pads and coffee mugs.
Yeah.
Threw in every now and then something else like a name tag.
Exciting.
And now we got this huge range of stuff. And it just as it gets broader, everyone's going to make more money. That's the beauty of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And like talking about that size of a pie, I mean, it makes for everybody being successful and not having to make it a commodity and go turn it into a price war. So good stuff there. One other quick note from me, Jimmy, DAX Chicagoland coming up. You and I will both be at that show. I've got some great seminars. In fact, we have a competing time. But
again,
much about that, but
in Minneapolis, you had some of my people. You realize that. Well, they went to me first, to be honest.
Yeah.
They chose you over me. I was trying to draw them back like cash prizes, food.
Yeah.
And
I did say, this is not Jimmy Lamb's class. So if you're in the wrong space, you can get up. It will only hurt my feelings slightly.
It was probably actually a great sigh of relief when you told them that. So they just
yeah, there was applause. It was weird.
Yeah, see.
No, but it's about 2 weeks away, Jimmy, and I just talked to Scott actually about 10 minutes ago, Scott Ritter, who is the president of Decorated Apparel Expo, and he says their pre-registration's running about 18% ahead of last year, so they're expecting 3,700 to 4,000 attendees here at this show in Chicago. They've actually expanded their footprint, and they're taking up the entire area there in Tinley Park, and earlier this week, he sent out an email saying they had 8 booth space left, and when I talked to him this morning, they're down to 5. So,
wow.
If you want to get in front of 4,000 super qualified people, boy, I'd say jump on this right now. In fact, I would even be okay with you leaving the broadcast to go over and hit daxshow.com and let Scott know you're looking for one of those last few booths. So, and then if you haven't registered to attend, obviously you need to sign up for the seminars to see Jimmy, myself, Terry, Dane Clement, Charlie Tabley. I mean, there's Eric Campbell, ton of great folks there.
You're creating competition for us now. So
I know. Oh, there we go. Somebody wants to talk to Jimmy.
I love my ring. I have.
I love your ring.
On MP3 ring competition.
All right. So, Jimmy, what any news that you've run across this week, or that you want to share with anybody, or should we continue ahead here?
Well, I just want to toss in on the DAX show. I mean, it's really become one of my favorite shows. I mean, I go to almost all of them, and I teach a lot of them. But the reality, when you go to DAX, there's something different about DAX. I mean, it has a nice, personable feel to it. And, I always encourage people to go because the classes aren't necessarily huge, but when they're not huge, that means you're in a better position to have conversations with the instructors, network with other people, those kind of things. So the reality is it's a great show to attend, and if you can, you should. And this
Absolutely.
Is the year too. The one
All right, Jimmy, you got locked up there just a hair. Maybe the phone calls are grabbing you, so we'll keep moving ahead. So. Stay tuned to the end of the show. Once we get Jimmy back here, we will have him do the 5 things. He's a veteran of being on the show, but I still am going to force him into 5 things. And so we're pleased to bring you this show. We've been doing it weekly since February 2013. This is our 6th season, and we always try to avoid rants, lecturing, or selling. And we'd love for you to visit our webpage at tworegularguys.com to check out some show notes from previous podcasts with lots of great links. And on those links, we're going to have stuff from the past shows where you can go find out great information, what things have talked about and stuff like that. So head on over to 2 Regular Guys, the number 2regularguys.com, and check that out. And you can also find us through our social media channels at the number 2 Regular Guys on pretty much every social media outlet. And we'd love for you to recommend some shows for us. So we're always looking for what you guys want to learn. So recommend some shows over there and jump on in and talk to us. And if you're catching the live video, we want to welcome you in and love to hear your comments and feedback. So we've already got some folks in here. Val, welcome in. Good to see you this morning. And we've got some great stuff going on already in the live broadcast. So join us there. But while I try to get Jimmy back on here, so we can get him restarted, I do want to recognize our title sponsor for 2018, the Specialty Graphics Imaging Association. In fact, I'm going to pull up their website here while we're talking, and let's share that and put it up there. All right. So if you get on over to their website at sgia.org and check them out, and you can find out all information and all the good stuff going on over there at sgia.org/garment. And they've got webinars and whatnot coming up. And we've got Jimmy back. Love it.
I'm back.
He's back. All right, there he is.
Everybody wants to see I'm running the internet through the phone, and everyone wants to call you when you're like doing something, right?
It's Murphy's Law, yes.
Yeah, I'm hitting that disconnect button, and they keep calling back. So
they really want to talk to you.
That's true. Hey, I'm here, but I could hear you the whole time. I was sitting there going, "I'm here, Aaron. I'm here."
Yeah. I know. I've been on the other end of that too. So Just relog back in. We'll get you. Martha, good morning. We've got a bunch of people joining us here, Jimmy. We've got Martha and Val, and
cool.
It's going to be great. So if you're checking out the live Facebook version of this, please post your comments, questions, etc. We've got Jimmy for, let's see here, the next 50 minutes, hopefully. So
or until the next time he bails out due to his phone issue.
Either way.
Yeah, either way.
Either way, we have him. So let's take advantage of this opportunity. All right, Jimmy. Well, you ready to talk some sublimation here?
Yeah, let's talk some sublimation. So, the first thing that comes to my mind is what's hot in sublimation. Okay. And, everybody's asking me that. What's hot in sublimation? Well, we can spell out 5 things if we wanted, but we're only going to really touch on one. One of the things that's gotten a lot of excitement in the marketplace this year, we're really just in the last few months, I should say, is panels that we can sublimate onto that have an extended resistance to UV light. Okay. We're not going to call them that they're totally UV resistant, but there's a couple of companies now that are producing products that have what we call fade resistance. Okay. So improved fade resistance, when bombarded with things such as UV light, which means what? Outdoor usage. At the recent sign show, the International Sign Association show that's held every year, this was a big talk. And in fact, at Sawgrass, we were showing quite a few of these particular products. And there's 2 key companies that are offering this type of product. One is Chromolux. Everybody's familiar with Chromolux.
Sure.
Newest is the Chromolux EXT. And it has, I think it's about a 3-year fade resistance for it. And so if you're looking at products, whether you're using them outdoors or maybe using them indoors where there's a lot of outdoor light coming through the window, take a look at that. I mean, this is great for signage, for photography, things like that. The other is sort of a new player, and the company is Decorol, and they have a product called Duralux. And some of the different dealers are carrying the Duralux panels, and it has a 5-year fade resistance warranty when printed with Sawgrass inks. So that's pretty cool. So both are really good products. And I'll tell you the other thing too. We're seeing some of these outdoor products are not just, mostly what we see is gloss panels right across the board.
Sure.
But they have matte and they have textured. So there's some really cool stuff. And so if you're into signage or it can be used for other things besides signage, but let's face it, if you're talking about outdoors, you're probably talking signage.
Yeah.
Something to look at. So keep your eyes and ears open as we go through 2018.
Yeah.
You're probably going to hear more and see more. And if you visit some shows, keep your eyes open for that. So
yeah. Interesting. So with that, Jimmy, just a kind of a follow-up question. You said signage, and you said there were some other things, but I mean, this could be, a big opportunity for even photographers and stuff like that, because that can be an issue if you're putting something really nice in a living room that happens to get some UV light. Those kinds of things can really add to the perceived value of the product.
Imagine this, Aaron. You've seen this with furniture, right? Over time, where part of the couch is fading, the other part's not.
Yes.
Imagine if you had a picture of grandma up there on the wall, and part of her is fading and the other is not. That's not good.
No, definitely.
I tell everybody it's called recurring income.
Yes. Well, I did think about that. What about the technical obsolescence, right? Where you get that repeat.
Now I am serious. I mean, when you talk about recurring income, I'm not suggesting we make things to fail. But what we're talking about is if we know a product has some kind of lifespan on it, say an outdoor piece, the key is that the customer's expectation is it has a limited lifespan. If the customer knows it's going to fade over a period of time, and we don't know the fade rate, it depends on the degree of sunlight, et cetera, et cetera. If their expectation is it's going to fade within, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then when it fades, they're like, oh yeah, it was supposed to do that. And you know what? They will buy more because it fell within the expectation, and it truly is recurring income. I mean, it becomes, people look at it as a weakness. I say it's not really a weakness. It's only a weakness when it ticks off the customer. So
yeah, when you hide that fact
from the right expectation, that doesn't happen, we hope. So, I mean, I know somebody who did license plates for a police department, did 200 license plates. And they told the police department, you're probably going to get 2 years out of it before it starts to fade. And every 2 years, they get a PO for 200 more license plates. Almost to the day,
Nice. So they're like, okay, 2 years, faded or not, we're getting new ones. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And it's government. They don't look to see if it's faded. That someone told them to order in 2 years, and so they put it in a computer and they did it. Whatever.
That's perfect. So, Jimmy, on these newer products that you mentioned, you got the Chrome Lux, and say the name of the other product one more time. I'm not familiar with it.
Duralux, and the company is Decorol. So Decorol makes Duralux.
Okay. Do you have any idea on what we're talking about price wise comparatively to no?
I do not. I don't. When I got a chance to work with the products, I didn't even ask. I was having a chance to actually sublimate them and see how they work, and it was like, this is cool. And then now you ask a question like that.
I know. Well, now you've got homework, Jimmy. Not only am I making you do this for an hour with me today, I'm giving you homework and everything.
If I had multiple computers set up like I usually do, I'd be doing this over here on the side, trying to get that answer. Or if I had a staff, like talk radio people, they're already working it, and it pops up on my screen with the answer, and I look like a genius. So,
all right. Well, let's see if we can make that happen.
Do you have that yet on your end?
We've got some help at least. Eric Campbell has been helping us out, so he's actually in the chat. So maybe we'll put him to work over there if he's put
him to work over there.
He's normally doing about 7 other things though. So he's got his day job at Decker Network. He's probably digitizing just for fun, and and probably doing 7 other things, including helping us out. So
probably digitizing with one hand just for fun.
Just because maybe behind his back without looking, knowing Eric. So.
Right. Just one hand, and the other hand is doing something totally different, unrelated to digitizing.
We won't discuss that. All right. Before we get too far off the rails here, Jimmy, one of the other things that I wanted to ask you about that you had brought up, and I think this is going to be fun, except for you're going to kick my butt at this, but let's talk about some unique things that we've seen and see if we can maybe one up each other. I'm a little nervous, but
well, you know what? I see. We don't really have to explain them all, but it's kind of like maybe throw it out there, and then you throw something back, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
Then you're right. I'm going to cap it off with one I'll have to describe, but whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, if anybody that's listening in live has some unique things that they've seen with sublimation too, feel free to join in and post them in the comments.
Absolutely. And see if you can one up us both.
That's right. Winner gets a coffee mug. How about that?
Right.
Or a mouse pad, right? There's plenty of those still.
Something like that. T-shirt, right? Or socks. I love your socks that you've done for 2 guys. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good.
All right. I'm gonna start with cremation urns. In reality, they're just boxes with a photo panel on them, but they're cremation urns, and they're actually labeled as cremation urns. I will say this. They look just like the jewelry boxes that Chroma sells, but they kind of designed it a little different. They call it a cremation urn. So your turn.
All right. I'm going to go with wine boxes as centerpieces at weddings. You'd have to they're kind of high end, but I've seen this actually where they've done pictures and done the wine boxes, but actually have wine in it that the
that's
people
even better.
Take with them, so kind of cool.
Wow, that's a loud helicopter. Oh, that's right. It's flying like at treetop level right by.
Man, you got it all happening over there.
They might be looking for me. All right, so it's back to me. Fishing lures, believe it or not, and in my understanding is that they're really more of a promotional product, but I'm dying to try one and see if I can sublimate it somehow to catch more fish.
Okay. So it's not only for looks, but to attract the fish. That's interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. I've actually seen sunglasses sublimated.
Wow.
Yeah. It took a special jig and a vacuum press and whatnot, but that seemed pretty unique to me.
That is toilet seats.
Oh man. Oh boy. I don't know. Okay.
It was a flat, very flat. Some of them are more a little curved for comfort. This was flat, right? And on a wide format press, but yeah, I've seen that.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting one. I guess we go towards fabric and boppy pillow. I'm not sure if I didn't even know what a boppy was, even though we apparently had one here when I had my son. But they're also called breastfeeding pillows. They're this U-shaped pillow, and making covers for those is something, in fact, we're working on over at Pick the Gift right now. So,
cool.
Because with sublimation, because you've got so much durability there, they're going to get all sorts of nasty stuff on it really quick, and they get washed about 7 times a day.
Say they will need frequent cleaning.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Well, I had a baby and he was nasty. So we'll just go with that.
Okay. We're okay. You're talking about yours.
Yes. Mine. Yes. Val did mention toilet seats is scary. So
yeah. Now I saw a new one yesterday. First time ever.
Okay.
And I'd love to have a picture of it, but I don't. It was a knee brace, a true knee brace.
Whoa.
Medical purposes. And it's not like one of those slip-on knee braces. You might be thinking that. This is one of these where it has a mechanical clamp above your knee and one below your knee, and then metal brackets attaching the two clamps. And the very top portion was sublimated.
Huh. Wow.
And it was sublimated patriotic, so I'm thinking, wounded warriors and that kind of stuff, right? But it was like, wow. I mean, that was the first time I've ever seen that.
Wow. I have not seen this, but that just put a light bulb in my head for, like you said, maybe the braces and stuff like that. But prosthetics are potential where you could vacuum press something like that. So
true. And I'm wondering, you have to find the right material. But we're talking about the knee brace. That's a lot of people have gone to the pharmacy and bought just a slip-on, stretchable kind of knee brace. And you start thinking about it, it's like it feels like the same material as a mouse pad. And it's like, I wonder what it is. Go look at it, because there's something like that you could do. You could compress it and do one side and then the other side if you wanted, and get an all-around look. That could be an interesting aspect too. Okay. Eric, research that real quick. Anyway,
you're supposed to look up the pricing on the extended panel. So, anyways,
that's it. But we got those the arm sleeves have become popular, and so it's like, why not have a knee brace?
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, so is it my turn?
It is your turn.
We ended up at. All right, I want to change gears completely, and I am going to go to I'm going to go back to fabric, and actually have seen kind of, I don't know, I called them Canadian Mountie pants. They're horseback riding.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But very detailed, lots of sewing. I mean, it was more sewing than sublimating. I mean, you had to sublimate the base product, but I've seen those done, and it was amazing. And now I'm sure they were crazy expensive, but
right.
So now it's back to you.
It's back to me, and this might be the last one, so we can move on. But this is the most unique thing by far I've ever seen, and it's not like something any of you will probably do in your lifetime. But I had a gentleman bring to me a gear, like a mechanical gear with teeth cut into it.
Wow.
It was a polymer gear, and had been like die cut out of a polymer panel or whatever. So what they had done was sublimate increments onto the gear, because it's not like in a transmission, it's in some type of measuring device that's measuring like level, so it changes slowly as something's feeding it, to measure level or whatever. He didn't give me a lot of details, but he had sublimated measurement increments on the gear, and this is all he does. Thousands of gears a month that he's used the sublimation for. So it's one of those things I like to share, because it's how many other things are there that don't even sound like sublimatable items at all, that people could sublimate and turn into a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, yeah, there's so many cool things. All right, well that's man, I'm gonna have to call you the winner on this one, Jimmy. I think
cool. Finally won it.
You won. Now I will keep it open to listeners if they want to pop a few things in there. But I think you've beat me, so you just let me know what you want your prize to be, and I'll bring it to Chicago with me.
Socks, man.
You want the socks? All right, see if I can make that happen. Awesome. All right, Jimmy. Well, let's keep going with some more sublimation talk here, but I want to talk about apparel. We've talked about some of the different hard substrate products from the signage and all these kind of fun things. We touched on a little fabric kind of stuff, but apparel seems to be an area that I get a lot of questions on. I believe you get a lot of questions there too. So first off, maybe just for those that aren't super familiar with sublimation, give us kind of the overview of what can people print and why, and what about dark shirts, those kinds of questions that always come up. Can I do cotton?
Right.
The real newbies have those kinds of questions a lot, and because it makes a lot of sense. So sure. I'm going to wind you up and let you go here.
Okay, here we go. So now I turn into an Energizer bunny, right?
That's right.
So the reality is sublimation only bonds with polyesters and polymers. It doesn't bond with cotton. And I just want to be clear, you cannot sublimate cotton. Now, are there methods out there where you could apply sublimation to cotton? And I've phrased it differently because it is different. Yes, there are some products. I'll touch on those in just a minute. But in reality, the physics are such that the sublimation dye is not going to bond with cotton. Okay, it being a dye, it's actually recoloring the fibers. Okay, so it's penetrating the fibers of the apparel and then recoloring them from the inside out, because this is what a dye does. And therefore, it has to be able to penetrate to those, and it only bonds molecularly with polyester. So it's got to penetrate, bond, whatever work, and it won't work with cotton. But we'll get back to that. Now,
okay.
The other thing you want to understand, very important, is when we do printing with pigment inks such as screen printing, DTG, some of our inkjet systems, those inks, in order to bond properly, have a binder that's typically in the ink. Sometimes it's in the paper if it's a transfer. And it's that binder that makes that ink actually bond to the surface of what you're printing. And it does bond to the surface, doesn't really penetrate the surface very deep. And typically cotton, and some blend will work with those types of inks. And those same things, when you take a shirt that's been screen printed and you wear it over a period of time, the image starts to crack, peel, and fade. Okay, and that's normal. I mean, I'm not knocking screen printing in any way. That's just the nature of the chemistry.
Yeah.
You put on a shirt and you stretch it when you put it on, pulling it over your head, and you wear and tear and you wash it, and it'll start breaking the binders, losing their binding power. We call it. And eventually those inks, they're going to crack and peel, and they're going to fade just because they're pigment. I mean, pigments tend to fade, through laundering. So when you're doing those types of products, cotton products, you're typically using those types of processes. Now, sublimation only bonding with polyester, it doesn't require binders whatsoever. It does a molecular bond between the cells of the polyester and the actual sublimation itself. So it's bonding at a molecular level, internal to the fibers, not on top. Everything else is on top. Sublimation's inside. And that's why sublimation doesn't crack, peel, or fade when laundered, okay? Which is great.
Yeah.
All right. But there is no one ink that does everything. So, two of the limitations, I hate to say limitations, but there are two of the limitations we have with sublimation. Number one, it doesn't work with cotton. And number two, it does not have white ink. Now, the concept of white ink is when you're going to, let's go back to screen printing, for example. Yeah. If you put colored ink on, say, a dark shirt, even with screen printing ink, which is pretty thick stuff, it may affect the colors of the ink because of the darkness of the shirt. The colors don't pop anymore. So they'll actually put down a layer of white ink, and it's a very technical ink called white ink. I love that. It's like, but it is, they're going to put that down. It's a surface coat, and they do a quick cure using what they call a flash unit, which is heat. And then they put the rest of the design on top of the white, okay, and in layers. And so the rest of the colors really pop and look good and whatever else. It also gives them the ability to print the color white. Keep that part in mind too, because they do have a specialized white ink. They can print the color white.
Yep.
Direct to garment printing, most of the DTG units today have white ink as well.
Yep.
Same concept is what you're seeing with screen printing, but they don't use heat to cure the white ink. They actually use chemicals through pre-treatment and whatever. Okay, they put down a layer of white. They build the design on top. Okay. Now, when it comes to sublimation, we cannot put down a layer of white, because without a layer of white, then the dye will never make it into the fibers, and we're trying to dye the fibers, right? So, if you have a layer of white ink, you can't make the sublimation work. So, currently that's where it is. Could that change in the future? Certainly. We see new developments all the time, but right now it's physically not possible to produce white ink for sublimation. So what that means is, if I'm sublimating on a white shirt, and let's say I'm putting on a soccer ball, the printing process, when you set it up, we're using CMYK, and there's no combination of CMYK that equals white. In the world of YK, absence of color is white in theory, okay? But the white is absence of color. Yeah. So if you print a white soccer ball, along with, the black details, on a white T-shirt, it would look like a white soccer ball, because everywhere it was white was left no ink, and the T-shirt itself is the color. If you put that on a red shirt, it's a red soccer ball, because again, you can't print the color white.
Yeah.
That's the limitation we're running into. Now, for anybody that's new, anybody's experienced, you already know that. If you're new, when you talk about hard substrates, non-apparel, typically we do full bleed, meaning that if I had plaque and my plaque needed to be red, okay, with a white ball on it, you don't buy a red plaque. When you buy your plaque to sublimate, it's white, okay? Almost everything made for sublimation is white. And then you're going to create a red background that will go from edge to edge of the plaque in conjunction with your logo that you're going to put on there, or your picture, or whatever else.
Yeah.
So that you now have one piece of artwork that's the background color of what color you want the plaque to be, along with the image you want to be on there. You sublimate it on perfect. See, that doesn't work with a T-shirt, because most of us can't print wide enough on the T-shirt to cover it from edge to edge.
Sure.
Except the wide format people.
Yeah.
And wide format people use the same principle. They can make a transfer that's as big as the front of the shirt, and another one's as big as the back of the shirt. So they'll take a white shirt, create the color that they want the shirt to be, and the logo all in one big transfer, and completely do the front, then completely do the back, and now they got a red T-shirt and they don't have white ink.
Exactly. Okay. But they do run into, if the shirt's already sewn together, you gonna go there, or am I going?
Sure, why not? And then we'll talk about cut and sew, and I'll let you go there.
Okay.
But yeah, what you're getting ready to mention is we can do finished T-shirts that way. Okay.
Yeah.
We can't do a polo because we have a collar sticking up. But on a T-shirt like I'm wearing, we can do the finished T-shirt. Yeah. Well, what's going to happen is you'll get wrinkles that you just can't quite get out when you're pressing. So you get little white streaks a lot of times right here.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to get them right up in here.
Yeah.
Now, depending on the situation, okay, if it's a really cool graphic, meaning that it's sort of artistic, it's not like a corporate logo necessarily, I'll see the designers realizing we might get some white streaks here and there from the process, try to build white streaks in as part of the artwork.
Yeah.
So these lines you shouldn't have because of the wrinkles look just like little white streaks that you should have because of the artwork. And it's cool, because then people don't realize. Yeah. But people generally accept, who really looks under there? You know?
Exactly. But in fact, I've gone so far as I keep trying to remember who told me this, but anyhow, I stole it after they told me the first time I gave them credit. But smiles, just call them smiles. It's part of the uniqueness of that garment. It makes it more valuable. So
you know what I like to say? I like to say, listen, I'm not going to charge you extra this time, but
that's right. You get those
special effect.
Uniqueness of it, so
it makes it work more.
Definitely. All right, so real quick, I'm going to circle back here because Eric did go and get us the information that we were looking for. He said from a fast look up, those UV resistant panels are running roughly 19% more expensive than the standard panels. So there we go. He did mention that an expert should have better numbers than I can Google, though. So he
said that part.
Well, I'm not sure he was throwing shade at us, but maybe.
That's okay. I know Eric. He can do it. We're good.
I don't know about that. Well, all right. But anyways, so there we go. So we got 19%. All right. So let's go back to the apparel, Jimmy. We've covered kind of the basics, what
Right.
you cannot do. But let's talk a little more detail. So you are an actual sublimator. What else do we need to know to really be successful with apparel?
Okay. Apparel is where we get probably the largest range of questions from, sublimators.
Yeah.
And, one of the first things that new sublimators will encounter is what's called a transfer line. And the transfer line is a little razor sharp edge where the edges of the transfer paper make contact with the shirt. Okay. So when you rip off the transfer paper and you see this real razor thin mark where the edges were, and it does not come off.
Yeah.
Okay. Once it's there, is there. We call it a transfer line because it came from the edges of the transfer paper. Now, can we prevent that from happening? Most of the time. And the reason I say most of the time is not all shirts are created equal. Keep that in the back of your head.
Okay.
All right. How do we actually prevent that? There's a process, and I do have a video at the Sawgrass website.
Okay.
I'll walk you through everything you need to know about sublimating a t-shirt. Okay. And he covers this too. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the time, temperature, and pressure that we use. And for me, I typically start, and with a different brand of shirt, you may have to experiment to get the best combination. But I start with 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 35 seconds with a super, super light pressure and a piece of high temperature foam. So let me get all these little pieces. One thing I want you to keep in mind is the ideal temperature for sublimation is 400 degrees, 1 minute on most products with a medium pressure. So we're really deviating a lot if we go to 385 degrees for 35 seconds with super light pressure. When you start deviating from those standards, you typically see your colors start to not be as vivid. Okay, so ideally you would like to be as close to those top end numbers as you can, but you got to figure out what's the point when you have a transfer line appearing, because I don't care how great the colors are. If you got a transfer line, the quality, how many people want a transfer line, So, I go down to lower numbers and kind of work my way up. Now, Vapor Apparel, big fan of Vapor Apparel because they make good shirts. And let me tell you something. Vapor is like the only company I know that really and truly engineers their shirts from the ground up for sublimation. Almost every other shirt out there, we're adapting sublimation to that shirt. But these guys adapted their shirt to sublimation, a little different. And they're the ones who attacked this transfer line issue because it happens even on their shirts. And they're like, okay, for us to sell our shirts, we better figure out how to get rid of this problem, right?
Yeah.
So the guys over there came up with these methodologies of changing the temperatures, the pressure, the time. And he also came up with this methodology of what's called high temperature foam. And this is not something you're going to go buy at the craft store. Okay. It needs high temperature, keyword, 400 degrees, so it doesn't melt.
Yeah.
And so most of the sublimation dealers carry it. Okay. So you can get it from pretty much any sublimation dealer. And I don't want to get too detailed in the process, but just real quickly, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out a square or what rectangle of the foam, and it needs to be smaller than the paper but larger than the image on the paper. And this piece of foam, by the way, can be used probably 100 times before it just starts to flatten all out. So once you get one set up, you can use it over and over again. Keep that in mind. And this is going to go when we lay the shirt down on the platen of the heat press. This is going to go underneath the shirt, so the shirt's going to go on top of the foam. Okay, you just lay it over the foam. And then what's going to happen is it's given a cushion for the shirt so that the cushion kind of takes in the pressure of the edges of the paper rather than the shirt does. So that's what's helping to prevent the transfer line. So using that foam in conjunction with the ultra low pressure, and let me tell you how low that pressure is. If you take a piece of foam, shirt, slide it into your heat press, and close your heat press and adjust your pressure, you want to adjust the pressure. The foam is compressed by no more than half.
Okay.
What that means is the top platen doesn't even touch the bottom platen.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's a big gap there. It kind of freaks people out the first time, like that ain't going to work, But that's what I like about the foam because it gives me, even if I don't have any increments on my little dial,
Yeah.
the foam is like a visual guide to the right pressure.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get that set up. We're going to put the foam down on the platen. Typically, we can lay a sheet of Teflon over the foam to further soften it. Lay the shirt on top. Don't stick this inside the shirt. Lay the shirt on top. Okay. Then you can put the transfer down, and then a blowout sheet, which we always recommend paper because Teflon has sort of a lifespan and can create problems. I usually use paper. Then we're going to go sublimate it. And in my case, 35 seconds, 285 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to see how it works. Okay. And if we have no transfer line, we could take that shirt. If you want to use it as a test shirt, let it cool off, flip it over, do the backside, but increase your temperature. And I wouldn't increase the pressure, but increase your temperature and maybe the time so we get a little bit bolder color without a transfer line. In other words, experiment and write it all down. Now Vapor traditionally has had recommended starting points for their different products on their website. And I haven't looked recently, but they used to have it for the different products. Here's our recommended things initially. So you may be able to find that there. Okay. Cool. But that's the key. But I've run into brands of shirts that just do not sublimate well. And, I can tell you, you're not going to be able to sublimate every polyester shirt out. Yeah.
And Jimmy, so what's happening there for people, just to kind of give them an idea of why this is happening, is because that polyester is turning into a liquid state enough for the sublimation inks to molecularly bond to it. And so it actually permanently picks up the edge of that paper if it's pressed in there hard enough. So, I've heard all sorts of different tips and ways of going about it, tearing the edge of your paper, and
that one doesn't work that well,
all that kind of junk. But I agree. I've seen your video, and we'll have to get a link to it into our show notes here and get people, because that's really the only way to eliminate them as far as I can tell. So real quick, Jimmy, before we keep going with some of these things, Val had a question. She says, having a doozy of a time finding a light yellow, not safety, short sleeve and long sleeve poly tee. When is color selection going to increase?
Well, it's always based on demand for the manufacturer of the apparel. I mean, if they, we've seen companies release polyester shirts, didn't feel like they sold enough, and then just quit selling them. I mean, that's happened over and over again. So it's always about supply and demand. Part of it is making your voice heard. And, I know Vapor does have some yellow shirts, but it may not be what you're looking for. I understand, because you've been doing your searching. But letting it be known to people like that of what you're looking for and what you need, I think you're probably more likely to get Vapor to add some new products than you are, Hanes.
Yeah.
Because, Vapor is really in tune to sublimation. The other guys, they just, hey, maybe you'll buy our shirt, maybe you won't. Yeah. So, I think that's part of it, is just making it known to the manufacturers what it is that you're looking for and what it is you need.
Sure. No, I agree. And you see, I've seen the fact that sublimation is growing, like we talked about at the top of the show, how big this segment of the industry is getting. And therefore, the shirt companies are going to finally start getting on board and right. Need to be talking to them. I know, you mentioned about Vapor, and they have for a long time been the standard for sublimation. But some of the other manufacturers are finally starting to see the light, and they actually advertise a sublimatable shirt. Now, as Jimmy said, they're not all created equal, and somebody just told them, hey, polyester sublimates. Yes. So they go, I've got a sublimation shirt. But
let's advertise that. Perfect for sublimation, and no one ever tested it.
Yeah. But like,
I tell everybody, you got to test the shirts before you sell them.
Yeah, for sure. So, I agree. Just get out there, make sure that you're talking to your suppliers and telling them that, hey, I'm doing this kind of volume or have this kind of potential, and if you have the product for me, you're going to get more sales out of me. So,
well, at least feedback for a manufacturer, it's gold.
Yeah,
because they try to make decisions based on what they think the market wants.
Yeah,
the market doesn't tell them what they want, then they don't know what to develop. So, she may just be one lone voice, but the reality, she's still a voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
For companies like Vapor, they're going to listen because you don't have a huge chain of command like you do somewhere else. So, there's a good chain. I better not. I could give you the phone number of the, guy or well, there's two of them there at the top, but then I might get in trouble. But anyway, just kind of, that's the best thing.
So one other quick thing here. There's been some great conversation going on. Somebody looking for youth polo orange shirts, and there were some suggestions of Gildan and Augusta, and just not finding any youth polo shirts. I'm not. This is not my area of expertise. I don't know how much Jamie, or if you have any other suggestions besides those that you could throw out. But we'll do some research otherwise.
Yeah, you probably should do some research. I mean, I don't always keep up to date with all the different products in the marketplace, unfortunately. And I can't really just throw something out there. One thing I do want to mention, I mean, they mentioned orange, and I know previous was mentioned yellow, non-fluorescent. That's good. Be very, very careful with the fluorescent shirts, because the fluorescent shirts use what's called a brightener in the dye of the shirt itself. So when they make a shirt, they dye the fabric, or else they dye the yarn, one or the other, when they make the shirt. And the brighteners cannot withstand over about 300 degrees. So if you put one of these shirts in a heat press, that the brightener will start to discolor at 300 degrees, and you throw 385 degrees on it, what's going to happen is the brightener starts to turn brown. You don't get a transfer line. Instead, you get sort of a light brown box, where the heat press was. So you want to be careful of that. The other thing about colored shirts, and you got to be, it's almost the same, but a little different. Let's go back to what I was just saying about dyeing the fabric when they manufacture the shirt. Let's say it's an orange shirt. Then use orange dye to color the fabric that's used in the shirt. They have to heat set that fabric once the dye is in place. And they typically don't heat set up where we're doing our sublimation. So if it was heat set at 300 degrees on the orange shirt, and then you put the orange shirt in your heat press, it's not going to turn brown. What it's going to do is it's actually going to start to fade in that box that was under the heat press. So if you're going to sell, colored shirts, and we can do light colors with sublimation as long as white's not an issue, you do want to test them fully before you say you can do it. Okay. Yeah. You can run into that problem too. And there's not really a cure for you. You can't lower the temperature to 300 degrees. Okay. You're going to have another shirt. That's why I say you got to really product test before you sell it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, good points. All right, Jamie. Well, what about, one of the other questions that I know you get, and I've gotten lots before, can I do 50-50 shirts? What's the scoop on that?
When you do a 50-50, okay, first rule is at least 50% must be polyester. Now, when we say 50-50, everybody thinks polycotton, but it could be something else nowadays. So rule number one, at least 50% has to be poly. Rule number two, whatever the remaining content is, it must be able to withstand, I say 400 degrees to be safe. Okay.
Sure.
Cotton, no problem. But, we actually have some of these tri-blend shirts and even quad blend shirts that have nylons in them. And nylons can melt at 385 degrees. So you want to fully test anything beyond poly cotton, to make sure it doesn't melt. You always want to test any product. But if we do a poly cotton, what's going to happen when we sublimate it is sublimation bonds to the poly part, but not the cotton. And you're going to have what's washed out, okay, typically washed out and faded. And this can actually be to your advantage because I use it as a special effect. And I also use the terms retro vintage, okay? Yeah. And I'm not kidding when I tell you this. When I talking to a customer and I'm thinking that look would be good for them, like say a surf shop, and I will say it basically like this. Listen, I've got a process we can do that will look really good with your image, and it's going to cost a little bit more. It doesn't cost more because a 50-50 costs less than a 100% polyester shirt. So it really costs less to do it, but it's all about how you package what you're trying to sell, okay? And how you present it to the customer. A lot of power, okay? So your presentation is super huge. And just keep that in mind. A lot of times you can make more money because you can charge more on the 50-50 because of how you position it to them as being a specialized process. No, it's the same process. It costs exactly the same in production time, ink, paper, and the shirt costs less money. But what's going to happen is you're going to have the vintage look, as we call it. Also, this is very interesting. Usually the first time you wash it, it fades a little bit. Because we say sublimation doesn't fade when washed. What's fading is not the sublimation, but the fact is you had sublimation early bonding with cotton within the fabric, and it washed away that extra little bit of sublimation. So it looks a little more faded. So what I want you to do, if you want to do 50/50s or any blends, I mean, maybe it's a 60, making sure at least 50% polyester. Take 3 shirts, sublimate the same image on all 3 shirts, and then take the first shirt and just set it aside when it comes off the heat press, because that's the one that you use for reference. Take shirt number 2 and put it in the washer and dryer and do 1 cycle, wash and dry, and come put it next to that other shirt. Take number 3 and wash and dry it 5 times. Okay. Now lay the 3 out, and you'll probably see between the original and the one that was washed 1 time, a slight bit of fading, not a lot, just a little bit. But you really shouldn't see any difference between 1 washing and 5, because it's just the first washing that gets the stuff out. But you want to know that, because if you have a customer who's used to sublimation on 100% poly and they wash it and they feel like it faded, they may come back to you and say, "Your shirt faded. I thought you said they don't fade." So I mean, be aware of that. People, I need a discount. I need a refund. And it's like, okay. So yeah, do that. Product testing is very important on everything.
Awesome. All right. Well, anything that we missed or we need to talk more about?
That 15 billion that it was up earlier, we still have to figure out how to get the 1%, but
we'll keep working on it. This can't be done in 40 minutes, Jimmy. We just can't.
Well, if it could be, we wouldn't be sharing it, right?
That's right. We wouldn't be here. We'd be on your boat somewhere, right?
Right, spending it.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, hey, Jimmy, let's take a quick break. We got to hear a word from a sponsor, and then we'll come back and wrap up the show.
Cool.
Our show today is sponsored by Equipment Zone. Go to equipmentzone.com for the Epson F2000 direct-to-garment printer. Equipment Zone is the only Epson reseller who sends a technician to every customer location for training. This is an absolutely free visit to your location. Equipment Zone is also the manufacturer of the #1 pre-treat machine in the industry, the Speed Treater TX. With no compressor and no special tanks, the Speed Treater TX is the easiest and most consistent pre-treat machine available worldwide. Go to equipmentzone.com for the Epson F2000, the Speed Treater TX, and for all your DTG inks and supplies. That's equipmentzone.com. That's equipmentzone.com.
All right. Well, thanks very much to Equipment Zone for their continued support. And again, as Terry mentioned, get over to equipmentzone.com and check them out and tell them the 2 regular guys sent you and our 1 guest, Jimmy Lamb.
And our 1 guest.
Yeah, there we go. All right, Jamie. Well, let's wrap up the show here. We want to get to 5 things in just a bit, but wanted to talk about some of the events that you've got coming up. We talked DAX Chicagoland. I know you've got two sessions there. What are you going to be covering in DAX?
Well, the first one is really my favorite one. It's tackling transfers from sublimation to vinyl, and the reason I like it so much is something goes wrong every time I do it. And I'm serious. I mean, this transfer didn't work today. It worked yesterday. It didn't work today, which is the best kind of learning you can get when you don't have to fake mess up. You just really mess up.
Yeah.
One of the best mess ups I ever did in this class was I had a vinyl transfer on the carrier sheet, and I was walking it over and accidentally dropped it on a carpeted floor. And when it ended, it picked up every piece of fuzz from 20 years. And it was trash. You really couldn't use it, and it was like, wow, it only happens to me, right? So, but that's what makes it fun. I mean, we try to look at a wide range of types of transfers. We can't look at every brand, and kind of how they would be used, what their limitations are, what their positives and minuses are, those kind of things. So that's a good workshop. It's about 3.5 hours long. But it's we have a lot of fun in there, and it's a great class because you get some lecture but you get a lot of demo. Fortunately, we don't have the capability to true hands-on. I do the hands-on. You watch, but that kind of thing. Then the second one is how to add sublimation to your business. So on that one, we talk about sublimation, and we talk a lot about marketing and selling. Okay, because I think at the end of the day, learning to sublimate is pretty easy. I mean, we run into challenges that occur. Apparel.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not like learning to screen print, where you got to learn all the separations, all that fun, making, screens. So really we talk about how to bring into your business and how you use it to market, reach new marketplaces and make money, so that's always a great subject. Maybe we will figure out how to get that percentage of the 15 billion. So
yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Well,
now what about you? You got stuff going on there.
I do. So my first session, which is digital marketing, growing your business with social media and email marketing, and it's all marketing. We talk about kind of some of the ways to look at how you tackle social media, where you use social media to your advantage, not sending people to social media. I think Mr. Zuckerberg's fine getting 2 billion people to his website. I don't think you're getting 2 billion people to your website. So how do we
Not yet.
turn some of that? Yeah, I mean, that's the way you're going to get that 1%, is we got to get people to the right place and get them off the cat videos on Facebook. So we talk a lot about that. We talk about how we keep our we talk about how we keep our emails, that our marketing emails, out of the spam box, because we're not actually sending spam. We're sending things that people want to get. So great. I have a ton of fun with that. And it's always great to see people kind of think about things in a little bit different way, and I actually steal one of your lines in this. I steal a lot of your lines, so thank you very much. But I do still give you credit. First, probably. I do give you credit for it every time, though. It's not just a one and done kind of deal. But I tell folks, the reason I'm telling you these things and the reason I'm showing you these things is I've made every single one of these mistakes.
Oh, yes, that is my line.
I'm a genius because of that. Yes, but I give you credit for it. So
thank you.
And then right after that, I run over to another room and join my co-host Terry Combs, and we do Finding Niche Markets Because You're a Digital Decorator, and we talk about all the digital technologies from DTG to sublimation and just some unique niche markets, and how to, like you talked about in yours, how do you turn that into a money-making venture? How do you change that perceived value? So yeah, so good stuff there. And then Terry's got his class about screen printing that he does on Friday mornings. It's called Equipment and Supplies for a New Screen Printer, What You Need for Success. And he kind of gives you the laundry list of what you need to go out and buy, and what you maybe want to put on your wish list for potential if it's outside of your budget. So anything else going on in your world that is coming up that you want to let people know about?
Yeah, I always got webinars.
All right. Well, where can people go find out where your next webinar and whatnot's going to be?
If they send me money, I'll tell them.
Okay, perfect.
Give me a 20, I'll give you a list.
Okay. Do you take a check?
We try to put a lot out through the Sawgrass social media, and I'm going to do a better job of maybe sending you guys stuff too, because you do a lot of good social media. And I mentioned last time I was involved in your show, I still haven't quite perfected to make it ready for prime time, but I have been building a Jimmy Lamb website it's going to be all about content and education. Just so many people ask me for so many things that I don't mind sharing, but it gets lost in the email stream. So it's like, if you can just go somewhere and download it, you can do self-serve. Though I will tell you, though, that most of what you're going to see there is non-sublimation, because sometimes people forget that I am super, super, super strong in embroidery. Sorry, Eric. And, so I have a whole lot of information there, because I'm always going to direct everybody with sublimation straight to the Sawgrass site, because that's, where we archive, anything I do for sublimation is archived there. So if you need sublimation information, you go there. Okay. That's ink.com. The other website, though, as soon as I'm ready to release it, I'll come on your show and tell everybody about it.
Awesome. Perfect.
Look and pick holes in it.
Of course, that's what we do. Awesome. Well, one other quick note is you're going to be on pretty soon with Cheryl Kuchek over at Sublimation for Beginners and Beyond.
Yeah,
I do. In fact, Cheryl's going to be on this show next week. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But
she's finally introducing me to the world of Facebook Live. Okay, I've been a little slow.
All right. Well, this was your test run then, so I expect.
Yeah, I know. So she went out and kind of grabbed me and said, "We're going to do it this way." I said, okay, whatever.
Absolutely. Oh, she does a ton of great stuff over there, and
she does a really good job.
Then
I got 3 in a row with her, by the way. I got
awesome. Good job.
This month, next month. Knowing Cheryl, she's not going to let off.
Well, she's listening in now, so yeah.
Hey, Cheryl,
we're gonna hold you to that, and yeah, definitely. So if go check out her group over there, Sublimation for Beginners and Beyond. She's got a couple actually, and we're going to talk about that. But all right, good stuff. Jimmy, are you ready to do 5 things? Again, I throw this at you right now. Let's do this.
5 things. Let's see. Drink a beer. Drink a water.
that if that's where you want to go with that.
Okay, that's yeah. You know, when I think 5 things, I mean, the first thing, I got to credit somebody else who nobody knows, but a friend of mine named Shirley Bird, and she's actually from the embroidery world and works now really with the home embroidery market. She used to say it every time she taught a seminar. She told her classmate, her attendees, to go home and raise their prices 10% because she believed, and I believe and know that most of us undercharge. And that was always her closing comment. Go raise your prices 10%. It's not a lot, but it's a start point. So you know what? I'm going to use that one. Number one. Number 2, always look for unique applications, unique markets. Because if you're a sublimator, every one of us can put the same corporate logo on the same mug. How can you be different? Okay. And that gets you out of that nickel and dime price market. You know, find polymer gears and cremation urns or whatever. Okay. You know, so go outside your comfort zone, figure out, you know, where the money is. And that's going to be number 3. Go where the money is, because when we go after a niche market, we don't want to leave our house. Okay. And it's kind of like, okay, if your niche market is really big, you know, in the next state over, then you need to go over to that state and make sales calls. I mean, when you're following a niche, it's not a niche in your neighborhood. It's a niche. You got to think a lot broader. Okay. So go where the money is. Okay. That's very important.
Yeah.
Number 4 is learn how to price. Okay. That's the biggest question I always get. You know, what do I charge? And there's not an answer. You know, well, how much do I mark it up? Again, there's not an answer. Yeah. It's a perception of value. And so my new phrase, I don't know if you've heard yet or not, is marketing equals margin, because your margin comes from how good you market, not from a formula. Now, the formula helps you calculate.
Yeah.
You know, you got to understand that. So, you know, you got to go out and figure out how to price. And then number 5 is just keeping up to date. You know, tuning into shows like yours, Cheryl's, going to webinars, going to seminars, learn. I mean, you may think you know everything, and then all of a sudden you just hear this little nugget somewhere. Wow, never thought about that. And it completely changes your perception of how you do things. So, you know, continuously learn, you know, make it part of your schedule, schedule it in. Don't just randomly do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pick up your schedule every Friday at 11. See, right there.
There you go.
But yeah, those are my 5 things.
Perfect. All right. Well, one quick comment on the Facebook Live I wanted to pop up here, and Mensch asked, do you have any videos we can watch about social media? And I've got a few over at my personal page. I think we've covered it on the show a few times, so we'll get some links to a couple of things that we know. If you've got anything that you like, Jimmy, feel free to post a comment into the Facebook Live page here. But yeah, that's what we're all about. We're giving people information. If we don't have it, we'll find it. So excellent.
Or make it up, as I always say.
Sure, absolutely right. You got to give it a shot. The problem with social media is that if I was talking about it 2 years ago, you probably don't want to watch that video. You need to keep up on that all the time. It's ever changing, unfortunately, as we've seen with going on over. Go ahead, Jimmy.
You should solicit. Sounds dangerous, but sometimes people have. I like to see videos that people have created. You know, maybe promoting their business or their products. You know, because those can be very interesting. You know, but sometimes they don't want to share because I understand, because they don't want their competition to copy them. But you know, if you can get some of your viewers maybe to share some of the things that they've actually done that they don't mind us seeing, and you know, broadcasting, I think it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that does sound like a great idea. Awesome. All right, Jimmy. Well, we've come to a close of another show. So thank you very much for joining us today and filling in for Terry. Had a ton of fun, and it's always great info as well. So go Sublimators.
Maybe nobody wants Terry to come back.
Hey, it's still two regular guys. I don't know. We'll find out.
Two regular guys and a tag along. That's what it is.
Awesome. Well, I also want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell, who's with Deco Network, and you can find him over at ericcampbell.com. And also like to thank our sponsors, Specialty Graphics Imaging Association and Equipment Zone. We appreciate your continued support. As I mentioned, next week's show, we're going to be talking to Cheryl Kuchek, who's the founder and administrator of several Facebook groups, including Sublimation, Oki, Eye Color, and Beyond. And we're going to talk toner transfers next week, tips, tricks, and paper selection, and all sorts of fun. So it's going to be a great show. But thanks for joining us, Jimmy, and we'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.